So did this work? Yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida Power BI user group. My name is Adriano, your host, and we are here again for a great Power BI presentation. So, if you have not done so, take a minute, subscribe, drop a comment, and like the video. So by subscribing, you will be able to use the live chat and enter questions to the presenter and interact with other attendees. So that's why it's very important for you to carry out that interaction. So as I said, if you have any questions at any time during the presentation, do not hesitate. Use the live chat to enter your question. Also, carry yourself properly, follow the code of conduct, and be kind to others. And before we get started, I also like to talk about a great event coming up on Saturday, November 20, the Power BI Fest. So I look forward to see you there. I will add to the description information how you can register to the Power BI Fest, or you can just type powerbifest.com, FEST.com. All right. Now, without further ado, oh yes, one more thing. This is a worldwide presentation series where we bring presenters from around the world to deliver great topics for the community. As such, I would like to know where are you located at. So please take a minute, use the live chat, let us know where you are located. As I said, worldwide. So today, let me bring you our great presenter. And hello, Markus. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Good. It's late evening for me, 10 o'clock in the evening, as I'm located in Austria, Europe. No kangaroos, not Australia, but Austria, Europe. And I'm looking forward. Thanks for the invite for this session.
All right, thank you very much for making the time and be here with us. Really appreciate it there. So, as you said, you are in Austria. We have right now Juan, who is in Mexico. Hello, Juan.
Hola to Mexico.
All right, and those out there who are also watching, fear not, subscribe, join the live chat, let us know where you're at, and most important, engage, share your question, and let us know. Also, I'm going to share here on the chat the Power BI Fest where to register. All right. Oh, we have one of your neighbors here, or not neighbor necessarily, but nearby your area. We have Potier, if I'm pronouncing correctly. He's saying hello from France, Paris.
Salut. Back to France. Yeah.
Ça va. Bonsoir.
Ça va. Yeah, bonsoir. Yes.
All right, so tell us a bit about your role and what you do, Markus.
Yeah, I'm working as a consultant most probably whole of my career, and since 2006 I started working with Microsoft technology. So I started with the backend SQL Server and also reporting services. I was really excited when they announced this Excel add-in, Power Pivot. Maybe some of you can remember. And finally in 2015 Power BI Desktop came to the world and was born. And I got so many requests so that I got self-employed since 2018. And yes, so Power BI made me self-employed. And it has been very much fun since the first day. So almost 3 years now, I'm self-employed.
Wow, look at that. That's very exciting to see the great new opportunities that Power BI have generated for individuals such as yourself to engage on consulting, career, and starting companies, etc.
Yeah.
That's
Really exciting.
very good. Great to hear that. And tell us a bit about your presentation today, which is called Text Mining in Power BI. Power with
So
Power BI Desktop.
yes, so when I think back, like in reporting services, when I did my demos or learned something about the tool, I always worked with AdventureWorks. Maybe some of you know AdventureWorks, which was the cool new thing. Like Northwind was the old database, and I used the new one, AdventureWorks. And I'm also an old one because everybody now use this worldwide importers, right? But I still stick to AdventureWorks. And within its AdventureWorks, there's this product table, and the product table you have a product description. And for many years, I was wondering, what the heck do I with the description? Like you can read through the text field, but what can you do with that? And that's what I will show today. What can I do with the text description, like a description field of like articles or products? What can I do with that in Power BI? How you can learn something about it? How you can find out what's happening there? What kind of techniques we can apply to get more to know from that?
Very well. That's very interesting to see kind of the progression there of the technologies as you transition through time until reaching here to Power BI. I do remember AdventureWorks, Contoso, Worldwide Importers. Yes. So let's take a quick look here. We have Manuel Pereira from Lisbon.
Olá.
Welcome, Manuel. Bem-vindo. We have Slavica from Florida. I believe I know her. Hello, Slavica. Thanks for coming, joining us. And we also have Arnaldo from South Florida. Hello, Arnaldo. See, South Florida representing.
Very good, very good.
How long today's presentation is generally about between 60 to 90 minutes. Will depend how questions and how things will flow here as far as the length of the presentation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I don't know the name here. So, but he's saying it is hello and service from Vienna.
Oh, okay. That's the Austrian guy. Vienna is the capital of Austria. Yes.
All right.
Servus, back to Vienna. I'm sitting in Linz.
Excellent, excellent. We have Frank here from South Florida. So we see here kind of, people from, how can I say, from the Americas, from Europe. And that's only those that are actually saying, those are only those who are actually saying, right? Saying hello and everything. Mm-hmm. So very exciting to hear that. So here we'll be talking about text mining in Power BI Desktop. And can you tell us a couple things about it?
About text mining?
Yes, and the presentation itself with Power BI Desktop. Yeah. And then just a real short 2-3 sentences about it.
Yeah. So text mining, the easiest way of doing text mining is just to put everything in a word cloud. That's it's much easier than to read through all the text. So that's what we're going to see. But the thing with the word cloud is that, like in an English text, there's a lot of stop words like de, and so on, and, or, and usually I'm not interested in this text, this kind of words, because I know that there will be many of them because that's typical for English text, right? So the challenge is then to squeeze out the most important parts, so squeeze out and get the key phrases back, and there's many different options we have in Power BI and the tools around.
All right, so sounds very exciting, and without further ado, we're going to let you carry on, Markus. Thank you.
Very good. We'll start sharing my screen. So let me know as soon as you can see my screen.
All right, we do see your PowerPoint presentation there.
Very good, very good. So this is just a title. No worries. I will not show any slides. I mean, I have a whole slide deck about all the AI features. If you want to see it or if you're interested, I'm glad to share it with you. But for this kind of talk, I will just change over to Power BI Desktop and just show you the things, right? Why talk about what you could do in Power BI Desktop? why not just show you the things in Power BI Desktop? So what we're going here is Power BI Desktop. Currently, I don't need to do visualizations. Maybe let's make this a little smaller. And the easiest way to create anything in Power BI Desktop is to double click. You know, hopefully you know. I'm still surprised that some people don't know about the Q&A feature which you can activate with the double click. And then, for example, I can ask for the description, the English product description. So there's this theme, product, English product name, and description. That's what I'm interested in. So just start typing, and then IntelliSense will find out what I'm interested in. And that's the column I just mentioned, where for many years I was curious, what can you do with that? I mean, I cheated a little bit. This is not only the description, this is also the product name, because some of the articles, some of the products in Power BI in AdventureWorks don't have any description, so at least I have the name in here. Yeah, and then you can read through it, but this is not very interesting, right? So the next step would be, as mentioned, to make a workload out of that. And in the visualizations, unfortunately, there is no standard visualization for doing a workload, but fortunately, there's a workload custom visualization. So under ... in the ellipsis, the so-called ellipsis ... get more visuals, you can either import a visual from a file if you possess a custom visualization as a file, but usually you just go to get more visuals and then parse through the marketplace there to download a certain visual down to your Power BI desktop file. So it's then contained in your Power BI desktop file. And if we look there for the word cloud, there's not so many, and it's not anywhere there. Okay, that's interesting. Also, the things changed here a little bit. So maybe I think I'm victim of myself. I was playing around with the visualizations, and maybe this is not what's called, what is it called? This with certified. Yeah, they are certified. I can't remember why does the word cloud. Maybe it's because it's word cloud with a blank. Silly me, English as a second language. So there's a workload visual, and if you click on the workload visual, you get then more information, how this looks like, how it is written, and so on, and interesting things. And then you can just download it, get it now, and you will download it. I already did this in preparation for that, so I don't have to download it right now. So I just take this visual and change then to this W here, workload. This was the version 2 I downloaded there. And then we see everything is a workload. So we're done with text mining, right? Because now we have a workload. Now we see the most prominent things like a frame, like mountain, but like touring, but also bike, but also things like for, on, de, and. So this is not very helpful because this is blending into the real words. And of course, I know it is an English text. Of course, I expect that de, for, and are very common words. So how can we get rid of those? And there's several techniques, and that's the topic for today, how we can get rid of the things. So just to show you, I prepared some things, and then afterwards I will show you how I prepared those things. So instead of having like the original English product name, let's make this a little bit smaller. If I could, let's make this a little bit smaller. So now this gets smaller. It should be like a quarter of the screen. That would be nice. Can I do that? Oh, it's already late for me. Maybe that's the issue here. So where's the red line here? Can't see it. Here's a red line, and the other red line is over there. Here it was. So let's just make it this size. And then I can also find other things. So for example, I have my, I used, for example, cognitive services. There's different things. And I use, for example, cognitive services for doing this thing. So in cognitive services, you can pass in the English product description and get back key phrases. Like you can also do other things like translate things or find about the sentiment. But today we concentrate more on the key phrases. So I can have the key phrases from cognitive services and put them also in the workload. And then we will see that here now these fill words or the stop words, the so-called stop words, and are stop words. I'm not interested in those. They are now removed. So I only have mountain, road, frame. That's the most prominent things, and other things in here. I could do the same, what I can do with cognitive services, also, for example, with machine learning. Azure Machine Learning, pass in the key phrases here, and again, form a workload for that. And this will be very, very similar, because what I did here with the key phrases in Azure Machine Learning Services, I just used the standard key phrase pattern, and this is more or less the same like the cognitive services. So the only obvious difference here is that we have capital letters for some of the words, but not here. So everything is lower capitals, but more or less that's the only difference. And then there's also the freedom in Azure Machine Learning that I can run my own script in R or in Python. And that's what I did as the 4th version. So having the same thing also done in R and Python, which is a little bit different because this is my own text mining algorithm or text mining library I applied here with different functions. So there's a lot of different moving parts, what we can do here. And the question is, what's the easiest for you? What's the simplest to apply? If you are ready to use cloud, then cognitive services is the easiest to use. Let's see how I did this. So change over to the cloud services here. And there's, for example, I have the cognitive services here. And very important, for cognitive services, you have to provide your own APIs or call the APIs. And there's a good description for the cognitive services. So cognitive services is a service in Azure. So you need a subscription in Azure, and then you create a cognitive service there, which doesn't cost anything when you create it. And then you get the API keys and an endpoint. That's the thing here. You can't see the full API key and you can't see the endpoint, because I will make sure that you don't see this, because this is the key to using the cognitive services. So if you know my API key and the endpoint, then you could use cognitive services on my bill. And of course, I will make sure that this doesn't happen. If this happens, then I have to change the API key again and change it in all my files again. So we have those different APIs which are available in cognitive services. So cognitive services is not much more than 3 APIs. There's a lot of things you can do there, and I used only the language APIs, and one of those is this Keyphrases API. So let's take a look how this looks like. So the Keyphrases API is just a function here, and the code for this function we can see in advanced editor, not advanced editor. And as you can see here, this is not from me, but there's a documentation out there at docs.microsoft.com about how to use the Power BI key phrases cognitive services in Power BI. And then I just copied and pasted everything which you can see here, except for the API key. So the original text tells you, like in double quotes, paste your API key in here. And it will also tell you paste the endpoint in here. And this is what I changed. I just have a Power Query variable for the endpoint and then pass in just key phrases for 2 reasons. One is so you can't see the API key, and the second one is maybe I have several APIs, and I call several APIs because there's also the sentiment and the language, right? And they're also using the same API key. And I don't want to have the API key to change. If I have to change it, I don't want to change it in many places, but only in a few places. And then I put it in a Power Query variable API key there. So that's what I'm using here. And basically, this does not very much. What it does, it takes a parameter. So this is I'm not sure if you're used to Power Query, but this is a parameter. There's a textual parameter which passed into this code. So let and in is like between let and in, we have the code which is executed, and then in this is what is returned. And then I have a lot of steps in here. So they have like variables, and those variables are steps. At the end, we always have this comma, and then we have different things. For example, the text which got passed in gets trimmed, and then it is transferred into a JSON. And the JSON body is made up with different parameters, and the JSON text is just a part of this body. And this is then converted to a binary, and then we have some headers which have to contain the API key. And then I call, or this code calls web content, which means now we're contacting the API and passing over the header and the content. And when we got what we get back is like a bytes representative of the result, in this case the key phrases, and these key phrases get then transferred first in a JSON document, and this JSON document is then transferred back to a text which I can return. So long speech here. What the result is, if you take a look at the cognitive services in here, I have this English product name and description. Remember that we just have seen, and one of the results here is these key phrases. So as we can see here, then all the capital letters are removed, and if you scroll down a little bit, we should see that like those long text, row 65th black, and so on, is then only the key phrases are extracted. Can you read this? So this was what is returned from this. And calling this is really, really easy because I just mark the text I want to use as soon as I have this API available. And then under add column, I can invoke a custom function. And this custom function, this needs a new column, and then I pass in the query, the function query, which is in this case the API, for example, and then pass in as a parameter. Remember, this function has one parameter, a text, and I pass in the English product name and description, and then I just press OK, and then it's passed over. So this is very, very easy to use. It's more or less cost effective. When I remember correctly, I think 1,000 key phrases or 1,000 calls to the API, you pay less than $1. So if you want to play around, this is cool. The backdraft with this solution is that every time you refresh a Power BI desktop file, the whole content, the whole table is then transferred again over, and the key phrase is extracted again. So if you need a more cost-effective solution, it might be a good idea to have some database in the background, like a SQL DB or whatever. There's a lot of offers, and then you only send the new ones to the API, and then keep and store the key phrases also there. So this is really, really easy to do. As mentioned, these key phrases or the cognitive services also can do other things like finding out the sentiment. This is this one. A sentiment close to 1 means a very positive description. 0.5 would be a neutral, and 0 would be really, really negative. And of course, some of those are like adjustable. Obviously, this is something positive, but bold and all of those texts are really, really neutral. But most of the sentiment from a description are very positive. So if you're going down and to some of the real descriptions down there, so most of them is positive, and that would be expected, because who would write a negative description in their own database? That would be really, really interesting to see. And the cognitive service can, for example, also translate. So I can use the English text and pass in the English text, and then I get returned the German text. So it's also something you can do. And the cognitive services translation API, if I remember correctly, at the moment can translate between over 100 languages. So this is really cool. And if you are more on the geeky side of people, then you would be surprised or find it funny that you can also translate from and into Klingon. So I don't know why they came up with the API for that, but you can do that. So you can translate your text into Klingon, for example. What I did here was German, because that's my mother tongue, and that's the easiest for me to find out if this is useful or not. And most of the things getting really good translated. So black something is schwarz and so on. This really, really worked. Mountain bike Socken, that's like the socks, also works very good. So this is one way of doing that. But as you see, this is easy to use. At least you have to create this this function, which would just take over from the website. And if you want to start here, you just go to I think it's here. Yeah, it is here, and then go to your subscription, and then over to cognitive services, and then you just start to. They always move the buttons. I just discussed with Adriano that this is not so funny doing demos, and then sometimes they move things around. So decision, okay, we have to be more translate text analytics. This would be the one. So I create one, and then let's just name it. And custom questions. No, I don't need any custom questions. Skip this step, and then I want to find a resource group and the region and so on, and that's just created. That's it. And in this, then you get the endpoint and the API key. And the API key, keep it really, really secret, because that's the key to this service. So this is one thing, easy to use, but not very customizable. So the other version, or the other thing we can do is, like a similar thing, is that we could run Azure Machine Learning. So I have one version here, this one. Again, there is different functions I'm using here. And then again, I put the most important things in Power Query variables. So I'm able to just reuse them and to better hide them if I do demos. And the request URI. So this time I have the product name and description again and pass in the thing. The thing here for the Azure ML, it's a little bit more tricky, because the code provided by the documentation tells you how to do this, I think, in .NET or in R or in Python. But then you have to install R and Python. Maybe you don't want to. So there's this really smart Austrian guy, Gerhard Bröckli, who I'm happy to be friends with. So he wrote 3 different functions. So this is not taken from the web page, but you can find it, and I think I linked it there. So if you open up like the 2 Azure ML, like to first this one, the advanced editor. So there's the link in there. So there's this blog, Gerhard Gebrückel.at. So check this out, smart guy. And he does similar things. So it like preparing the header, setting the timeout, transferring the table to score, so the content of the table into in a format which the web service can digest. And this is done with the 2 Azure ML JSON. This is one of the other 2 functions. And then this is very similar to what you have just seen. You have like the request URI, the API key, and so on. And then you have to build up the header and so on. And then everything is then returned as the web response. So we get the result of a web response. And then the second of the other 2 functions then to convert the JSON back to a table. So this is what he wrote. So the other 2s are long lists of code where this code takes care of, depending on the type, it's transforming it into different formats so that whatever content we have in our Power Query table, so to speak, can be converted in a JSON format, which can then be understood by the service. So this is the solution here. Why would I do that? I mean, I would only do that if I want to prepare things before or after. If you just take the text as we do it right here, so this is like a silly example because I just take my English product name again and then convert it to key phrases. And the output, as we have seen in the Workload just previously, is almost the same. So there's not much difference. The only thing is that we get more flexible. So if I go over to my machine learning services in here, so the key phrases, and this, again, I did not start with that from scratch. So if you want to create something new, there's a lot of examples. And Azure Machine Learning, like the classic studio for Azure ML, unfortunately, they will not support it beyond 2024 or 2026, something like that. But it's really cool to learn things because it's like visualized. As you can see here, we have a lot of like things and they're connected. So you have like a content and then you edit the metadata and then partition the thing and then you call the extra key phrases and then you combine things again. So this is very visualized. It's a really cool way of learning about how machine learning works. And in this case, it's a very simple thing. We just extract the key phrases, but there's much more complicated examples. And when you want to learn about it, you will find a lot of examples there. Just use those examples to learn how you can use Azure Machine Learning, but how you can use machine learning at all. And what I did here, there's this example 5, if I remember, not the 5 one. There's another one called key phrases. I think if I pass in phrase, then it should find the extra key phrases. Exactly, that's the one. This was the basis for me. I just changed some of the things. So what I wanted to do is that this web service also returns like the input. So I get from the service not only the extracted key phrases, but also like the input. So I have everything in one place. And then you can try the things out here. So you can run this experiment. In this case, it's using the book review from Amazon, which I did not upload, but is one of the examples available here as example data sources. So under saved data sets, samples, there's somewhere this book review, because it doesn't really matter where we take the key phrases, like to train this model. And it's not even a trained model. And then if you're ready with that, you can save it and it deploys a web service. That's the cool stuff with Azure Machine Learning Services. So if you then be ready with your experiment, so currently we are in the experiment, we can then, with just a few mouse clicks, make a web service out of that. So I don't know much about web services. I'm not a classical developer. I could not write a web service in .NET, but I can generate a web service in Azure Machine Learning Services. So just click those buttons, and if you have done this, we can get over to the web services, and then again, you see this as a web service, and then you get again the API key and the request URI for this web service. And if you just use it like that, then most probably I would not use Azure Machine Learning for that, but we can also do different other things. So for example, I did a copy of not the web service, I want to see the experiment. This is this one. So I tweaked the thing further. So this is just a copy of what we just have seen, except for this part. So in the original part, I used the extract key phrases standard not keys, but key phrases. So this is what I used, and just drag it over and then use it there. I did not use this one here in this case, but I changed it for an R script. So I'm running an R script in the cloud. Why would I do that? Because it's more flexible. So I can run my own thing in here. So I get the data set, like the input from this function Marvel port 1. So that means that this thing has 1, 2, 3 imports, and whatever I connect to the first import is then used for my data set here. And then I use a standard library from R, text mining, TM. And then depending on your needs, you then, you create this cleaned corpus. So the whole column is then transferred in the corpus, which can then be read from these tmap functions. And then there's different functions available. So I can like transform to lower. I can stem the document. That means like going or going, but then you choose to go. So I only have one version of this word. I can strip the white spaces, so I don't have like blanks, tabs, dots, and so on. I can remove the numbers. I can remove the stop words. That's the most important part. So I get rid of and, or, the, and so on. I then again remove the punctuation, stamp the document again, and strip again the white spaces after remove the numbers and remove the stop words. And that's what I then return. So like everything I get here, like this text thing, which is the corpus clean. The corpus clean I then transform into data frame, and that's what I return then at the output port. So that means here my element has 1, 2 output ports, and that's what I return here. And this can then be used by this web service. And the cool thing with web services, I not only can use this in Power BI, but any program, any tool which can connect to a web service can make use of this thing. So I can now democratize the thing. I created this text mining algorithm or web service, not just for me, but I can, if I share the API key with my peers within the company or whoever, then they also can use the same algorithm. So we have one place where we share this algorithm. And you can even, if you go over to the experiment, I think there's also like, it's downloadable, or this maybe. There's also the way that you test the thing in Excel. So you can download an Excel spreadsheet, which has then some sample data, and then you just change things and the web service is called, and then you see what is the outcome there. So you can like find out how this web service, test the web service, but also how this web service then reacts to change texts. This is a really, really cool implementation. Unfortunately, this will be, we have to migrate to the Azure Machine Learning Services Studio, not the classic one, but the other one. So I have to do this sooner or later. And now we see this API key. So I now have to delete this one because now you could use if you watch the recording, you could then type down this API key. So you have to make sure that I change the API key or delete the web service here. So that's the 3 options we have seen in Power BI Desktop so far that I can use. Where's Power BI Desktop? Here's Power BI Desktop. Either Azure Machine Learning Services with my R script, or cognitive services. Any questions so far, Adriano? Adriano, I cannot hear you. If you're talking to me or let me know about questions, I cannot hear what you're saying. But if I not can hear you, then I most probably will just keep talking and see if there's any questions later. So that's one thing. Maybe you think, this is all too complicated. I need a much more easier implementation for that. I can use the cloud, and it happens to me that maybe myself or my employer owns a Power BI premium capacity, or at least a premium per user license for me. And I'm not sure if you know about licensing, but this is like everything I showed that far is available free in Power BI Desktop. You don't need any license. You don't have to sign in. So everybody can use all the functions I presented until now. If you think about having a more convenient way, then Power BI offers this, but only for premium users. And there's 2 ways: buying capacity, which is like $5,000 per month. Then you like rent certain amount of cores and memory in the cloud data center, and then you can do whatever you want with that, and therefore also use those nice AI insights features, which are up there. Or you could have an individual license for some of your employees or for yourself, a Power BI Premium per user, which means this is just double of Pro. So Pro is around 10 euros or 10 US dollars per month per user, and Premium is 20 US dollars. So it's 10 euros more. If you already own an E5, Office E5, then Pro is included. So you only pay additional 10 US dollars or euros roundabout. So this is affordable even for you and me. And what we can do with that is that we have those AI insights. So how do I apply those AI insights? I again have my product description here, and I already applied this, but for some reason it's telling me it's not working. That's really funny. I tried this around. I don't need, I think I only need this one. Yes, that's the right one. Okay, so I don't need this table. And again, I have this English product name and description. And then to apply some of the features, just press the buttons up there. So for example, text analytics, then it's connecting to Power BI. Hopefully I'm using the right user in here. Then it should offer me different functions. And behind the scenes, this is also cognitive services. So you get a similar or the same result, but this is much easier to use because I only press buttons. I don't have to copy and paste something from the web page and have to apply this then as a function in Power BI and maintain the API key and so on and so forth. But this is covered by your premium license. That means as a premium user, you already rented hardware there, so cognitive services is running on this hardware. So totally up to you what you use the hardware for. So this is much more convenient. And for example, I can extract the key phrases. So I can pass in my English product name. I could pass in the language if I know. If I don't know the language, and automatically it will call the detect language cognitive services for me to find out what kind of language is this. So this you don't have to provide this. And then I press OK. And then this text is then sent over to the so via the Power BI resources to cognitive services. And then the key phrases are extracted. I already did this, like you can see this extract key phrases, and this is the very same result that we already have seen. It's also offering like to detect the language, and you can also, what was the other one? Just forgot, was it translation? So I already provided all those the sentiment. So we have language, key phrase, and sentiment. That's the three cognitive services hidden behind this AI insights. If you call AI insights and did this the first time, then those functions will automatically create it for you. So it still needs those functions, but we don't have to create them. They get automatically created. And if you take a look at the extract key phrases, this is a very easy function because not very complicated. The only thing it does it calls a function AI function. So there's something built into Power BI Desktop, obviously, and then asking for the key phrases extraction from the cognitive services. So very easy to use, and the result is very similar. Again, this means cognitive services. So we cannot, if you want to change things or have individual code running before or after or instead of the cognitive services, this is not possible. This is like the easy way, but not very flexible. Any questions about that? Okay, maybe you say, Markus, this is very nice, all those cloud things, but I don't want to use the cloud for some reason. I cannot use the cloud, or I want to have a solution which works offline. Then Power BI Desktop also got you covered because we can also do the same thing we just have seen in Azure Machine Learning. In the R script up there, we can also run this locally. We have two ways of doing this. One is that we can run this as a script as a visual within Power BI. So one thing is not the Workload. I want to show this one. Where is it? Not really here. So it should be some here. R key phrases. That's what I was looking for. Okay, very good. That means everything is clear, or everything is so unclear that nobody can even ask a question. Okay, thanks for letting me know, Adriano. So we have this key phrases. So two things. I can run like take again my English product. Take this first one. I take this one. And instead of run the word cloud, I'll copy this over. So I have this English product name, right? And instead of the word cloud visual, I can also run an R script visual. So if I click on R here, then it's changing to an R script visual. Currently, it's showing me an error message because the script currently there does not create any image. So the script, we will just discuss in a second, has to return an image. If it doesn't return an image, of course, then Power BI cannot show anything. So there's an R integration. That means it's also a reminder, giving me a reminder here. The following code to create a data frame and remove duplicated rows is always executed in the XSM preamble for your script. That means that these 2 lines, they're not executed because there's a comment, just a reminder that whatever I do in my script, I have a data frame available called data set, and this contains, in this case, my English product name descriptions. So this is the variable I'm using here. So Power BI is like exposing the content to my R script via a data frame. And this data frame is called data set. This is a very usual thing to do. And instead of typing the thing, of course, I prepare the script because you do not want to see me doing any typos here. Copy this here and paste it here. And then you should see this looks very familiar because this is exactly the same script we used in Azure Machine Learning when I did not use the standard one, but the R script. Like I used this text mining library, and then I created the corpus and I cleaned different things up. Remember, remove punctuations, remove the stop words, remove numbers, strip white space, stamp document, and so on and so forth. At the end, I also use this library Workload to generate a Workload. So the Workload will then make a picture out of the data because that's what Power BI expects. Power BI, in this case, this is an R script visual, expects that there's something returned which then Power BI can show. And if I execute this code, so if I run it, where's the run button here? Then we'll see that we get a similar Workload as we have seen previously, but this is now different colors and so on and so forth because this is not the Workload visual, but everything is done now in the R script. So the R script is doing 2 things. It's cleaning up the thing, so it's extracting the key phrases, and it's showing the Workload. And maybe you say, R is nice, but I'm more into Python. No worries. We can also duplicate this page, and instead of showing a Workload and doing everything in R, we can also change this to Python. Of course, this will lead to an error again because this is not R code and not Python code, but so we have to provide the right code in here, and this is this one. So I pass in the Workload on Python and run the code. We should see a similar thing like a Workload. It's more colorful as we will see, but this is not implemented with Python code, which does a similar thing. I think I just I use the stop words provided by a package called Workload, and then I use the stop words, and basically this is just going through and introducing commas and separators when it makes sense. So every single word is now split up into different tokens, so to say, and then the Workload is built up about those key phrases I generate here. So the key phrases here is this one. So I check the tokens I discovered and then add those different tokens to the key phrases. And at the very end, that's what I always forget. Again, Python also has to return a picture. So with plot show, this is very important. If I remove this, then I get this error message again because everything is fine with the script, but it doesn't return a picture, and it has to in this place. So this would be the local version of that, and also it's really flexible because you run your own code. Again, if you don't want to run code, use cognitive services. If you want to use the cloud, but you be very flexible, use Azure Machine Learning Services where you can run your code in R or Python. If you say, I cannot, or different other reasons that you don't use the cloud, then you can run this locally. But this means every time I click on this page, then the whole thing is running. So it's extracting the key phrases and also like showing the Workload. Adriana, is there a question? No. So maybe this is like we don't use the resources very, very thoughtful because every time here also the word not only the Workload is built up, but also the key phrases are extracted. So what we can do instead is that we preload the thing. So R key phrases and Python key phrases means I already generated those key phrases. For example, for the R script, we have like frame, mountain, and so on. This is really important things. So if I create again a Workload, but with the key phrases I extracted with my R code, the workload would look like that. Yeah, anytime, please. What's the question?
Hi, Marcos. We have a question here. Well, we have first a statement here from Fernando Calero. He is saying the premium license helps a lot here.
Yeah, of course, it makes things easier, and it's also easier like for Microsoft. The question is why it is not available with Pro. Pro means you pay 10 euros a month, and then you have like shared resources, and not all the resources is easy then to provide via this way, because like 10 euros a month per user is like a really limited budget, and so it's harder for them to provide those resources. That's why they have this premium per user, where you'll pay extra money, and this means that now it's makeable, or Microsoft can reserve so many resources that you can also use those services. Yes, totally agree. And with premium per user, I think this is a really game changer, because for smaller companies, $4,000 or $5,000 per month is a lot of money, and not many companies can or won't afford this. But with premium per user, this is really easy.
All right, and we also have another question here. He's asking, you do not define in the R code the language as English.
No, I did not. So let's take a look here. So this was the last R code I referred to. I think, I mean, it's a while when I created this, I think the standard list of stop words is English. So if you have different languages, then of course the stop words would be different, because and is only a stop word in English, but not in Spanish or not in French, and definitely not in German. So I can't remember. I think either the TM package or other packages provide then this stop words functions, and you can also write the stop words function on your own. But usually I'm really lazy here, because I don't want to maintain stop words for different languages. So if you ping me, send me a message or so, I can do the research and send you a link where you can find stop words or prepared lists for stop words for other languages.
Yeah, because he also has another question here, and that is related to, he's saying that the word mountain and frame are the most common words with the R programming language, but with Python, it's aluminum.
Yeah, that's because the algorithm is a little bit different. I would say that the TM package, text mining package, is much more powerful. So it really tries to find out about phrases, while the Python code, I mean, there's also aluminum frame, heated, and so on. The Python code just takes individual words. So it looks like for blanks or other things, and if there's a blank, the text is then split, and that's what we see here. So there's no combinations of words. So it could be, I'm not sure. I mean, again, very good observation. It could be that like there's aluminum frame is available and aluminum other things, which are then not so prominent in the R code, but very prominent here, because aluminum is like separated from each other. While, let's see if this hypothesis holds. We have to zoom in here. Can I zoom in here? I cannot zoom in here. So that could be, that would be the theory that there's combinations of aluminum with other words, and that's why like aluminum alone is not that prominent. But that's only a theory. We would have to prove that by comparing the results, like comparing the data sets instead of showing them as a word cloud. We can also, and we can actually do this because we have the same algorithms here in the Python. And so this is one of those. And then I have also the R key, the R key phrases. And you can see this is just one long text separated. And this is the key phrases. So how can we find out about aluminum? Everything contains aluminum. So maybe, I'm not sure about my data model. Let's see, is this connected? So I have my product in here, and I have the key phrases. They are not related, so I cannot filter just on the product. How could we do that? Like, yeah, let's just put a filter in here. So the key phrases contains advanced filters, contains aluminium, a complicated word. Even in German it's the same word. So it does not really contain aluminium. Okay, so I have a typo here. Aluminum. Okay, I have to look this up. It's already late for me. Aluminum. Okay, this is different than in German and English. Never discovered this. So here, aluminum without the I here, right? Aluminum. It looks better. Yes. And what do we see here? Like this aluminum frame. So it's like combine things. And this is the theory, at least. That's so there's like aluminum as a word. It's not so prominent in here because it's combined with other things. And the keyphrase in here, if I also do like an advanced filter, this is not really helping here because I only have one word. So aluminum will not help me because this is only one row. And aluminum is just one word there, or it's repeated in here. Let me think. Let me find this. Can we find this? Yeah, but long story short, is it's because it's different algorithms and it's different return different things. That's the reason here. So different implementations of the same idea.
Cool beans. Thank you.
Other questions?
That's it for now.
Okay, that's it for now. So the questions now, I have these key phrases and R already prepared in here. So I have these Python key phrases and the R key phrases, and I did this again in Power Query. So in Power Query, you can also run scripts in R and Python. So this is again locally, but it's only running when you refresh the data, not always when you display the data. If you have an R or Python script visual, it means every time I show the visual, then the whole algorithm is running. This was fast enough, but maybe you have more complicated stuff, then maybe it's a good idea to only run it once when the data is refreshed, because after the refresh, nothing can change. So the list of key phrases will most probably not change. How could it? So it's then simpler to just load it during the refresh. So I have this R integration and Python integration key phrases. And there's one step in here. I run this R script. So as a source, I take again the product key and the English product name and description, like in all of the examples. And then we run this R script. So you can see the script in here, but we can also click the gear icon. And then you can hopefully see that this is again the TM package with all the same things. I'm running all of the same things to make it easy for you to understand that like the outcome is similar, but the techniques, the moving parts are different. And then I get the content of the previous step as a data set. And then I have to provide an output. It has to, it doesn't have to have an output, but the output would be then what I'm returning. And then Power Query shows me there is returned the different outputs here. And then you select this table. That's what I did here. So I select the output and I have the key phrases in here. And then I rename this column from text to key phrases R. And that's the same thing I did for Python. So you can run a Python script in here. Again, this is the very same Python script we already have seen, making use of the stop words from the word cloud, using the pandas package, and then we have the same implementation here. The only difference with the script in here is that at the end, it does not plot or show anything. It does not create a word cloud or whatever. It's just returning the data. So that means even if I extract the data with Python or R, I can use any visual to show the data afterwards. This is the other difference here. And I think this is what we can see here. So for example, is there some, this is what I did here. So I used, for example, the R key phrases from like here, the key phrases, and just did show them with the workload. So I could also extract the key phrases with R and then show this in the Python visual. So all the combinations are possible. And more or less, I think I'm at the end of what I wanted to show you with the text mining here. So there's different properties. We jumped a little bit around that you have. If you want an easy way and can use the cloud, then you could use cognitive services If you need more flexibility, then reach out to Azure Machine Learning, which provides you with the possibility of running an R or Python script in the cloud. That means if you transform this to a web service, it's not only usable from Power BI, but any other tool you have, for example, Excel, any application can then use this service. Gives you more flexibility. If you don't need this flexibility, and if you are just overwhelmed by the Power Query function we have to provide, then and you possess a Power BI premium per user or premium capacity, then you can use the AI insights. And only if you don't want to reach out to the cloud, you can use R scripts and Python scripts, either running directly in the Visual and show the things, or run as part of your Power Query scripts that you persist during the refresh, the key phrases, and then use them and consume them in the visuals again. Any questions about what I did show so far? Okay. So I think we've finished in less than 60 minutes. And if you have later, I mean, as promised, like there is this slide deck I can provide you with. I just collected all the different smart features, or what I identified as smart features. Some of them might be really machine learning things. Other things like Q&A, I don't think Q&A is machine learning, but it's like implemented, but very smart. This was the first thing I did show, where I've just double-clicked and then typed in description, and then this visual will find what kind of fields I'm talking about and makes a visual out of that. And for all of those features, I have then different links down there, because they're constantly changing. Microsoft is investing heavily on those features, so you can then use those links. For example, for the R integration, if you want to use this, you can use this as a visual. We have seen it as a transformation. You can also use this as a source. And if you want to use this and then publish the report to the service, please be reminded that in the service, of course, you don't have all the R packages available. Currently, I think there's over 14,000 R packages available. Microsoft did not install all of them, but just a certain list, and this is what you can find over this. So if you plan to publish the report to the service containing an R visual, then please make sure that you have the same R version and the same version of the package installed on your machine to make it easier, to really test it and make the visual look the same in the service and here. And what I did forget is, if you want to write things in R, of course, it's a little bit hard to write scripts in R. That's what I forgot here. Let's jump back here for the R visual. This was one of those, this one, for example, R. So if you want to write the script in here, no, that it was, okay. So that's the R script. So as you can see, there's like syntax highlighting, but I would not create a script in here. What you can do is, over the settings, either here or via file options and settings, you can give Power BI the information where the R installation lies and which kind of R IDE, the integrated development environment, you want to use. That means you have to install both R and the IDE, or Python and an IDE on your own. So this is not part of Power BI. Power BI just sends the script over to R and then shows the result. But this also means that we can also provide an IDE. That means I can click on this little icon, and then Power BI will be so nice to take the content of the script and open up our script editor and copy the script into the editor. And on top of that, it will also export the current content of my element here. So currently I'm showing English product name, right? So it's exporting the thing into a CSV file and adding those lines here. So I have now the copy of my script, like everything from here and underneath is the very same script you're seeing here, like, and it added those 3 lines. And this line is very important because it's now reading from the exported CSV file. That means I can run the script in our editor. So if I mark everything and run the script, I can even see the word cloud with the data I have available in Power BI. So I can really experiment with the thing. If I'm ready, I'm just copying and pasting the rest of the script, not the first 3 lines, back to Power BI. And the same is true for Python. So this is really powerful. And this is also a cool tool, I would say, for people used to work in Python or R, because in Python R, it might be hard to like tweak the data and massage the data and clean it up because you have to like, write your scripts. It's much easier to do the whole process in Power Query and then use this functionality to export whatever you have in Power Query to a CSV file and then work further in our Python. So this like would combine both worlds, the flexibility of things in R and the very easy to use functions in Power Query. Back to slide. So this is like this in the service here. The same is done for Python integration, just for your reference, and also the AI insights. That's what I demonstrated here, right? And the cognitive services. And for the cognitive services, I also wrote down like where you find the key and what you have to do. So there's this keys and this key and the endpoint. And this is then what you use for the API key and the endpoint variable, Power Query variable in my script. So I can provide you with all of that if you want. And the same is true for Azure Machine Learning services. So the description where you can try and find the API key and how you find then the request URI. Yeah. Lots of other functions and open for questions.
All right, we have now a question from Fernando. He's asking, there is an on-premise gateway restriction also.
Yes. I just talked about the restrictions in the R visual. So when I go back to the R visual, that's what the same applies. If I say R visual, the same applies to the Python script visual. So if you have this in a visual, no problem at all. But if you run the transformations or the source and plan to run this in the service, you have to install the private, I think it's a private, called private, to change the names. So it's the private gateway, not the standard or previously known as enterprise gateway, but this runs only with the private gateway. So that means if you run the script as part of Power Query and you want to refresh it in the service, you need to install the private gateway and can't use the standard gateway, which is a kind of showstopper for many enterprises because maybe you're not allowed to install this and you do not want to compete with the enterprise gateway. So be careful with that. Yes, good point. Thank you, Fernando.
All right. That's it. I do not see any more questions at this point.
You're very good, I would say. We cleaned up everything.
When you finish, can you switch to your screen, please? Meaning, stop sharing when you finish.
Yeah. So you see my pretty face in full size, right?
All right. Let me get. All right, everybody. Great session here by Markus. Shared a lot of knowledge from using built-in features for the AI inside Power BI. We also looked at Azure Cognitive Services, connecting to Azure Cognitive Services to leverage their resources along with Azure Machine Learning as well. And whether to use built-in features and or even create your own, and or like Marco showed how to import others. That's very cool. You know, really like it. And folks, remember, if you have a question, use the live chat. They still have a minute. I'm going to take a minute here to transition to another screen to show you two things. As Marcos mentioned about the Azure Cognitive Services, I would like to bring it here to your attention to another South Florida user group called Microsoft Data and AI South Florida user group. And next week on October 6th at 7 p.m. US Eastern Daytime Zone, we will have, or there will be a talk about building seamless data and AI solutions with Azure Cognitive Services. And they will cover, here we will more focus to Azure Cognitive Search, but they will cover to non-developers on how to engage and use Azure Cognitive Services features, which you can probably, depending on the feature, as Markus just showed, you can integrate with Power BI. So there we go. You had a great opportunity there. Now I'm showing you here the text mining in Power BI Desktop by Markus, who was carried out today. And as a final notice, I would like to bring to you again to the Power BI Fest 2021. As you can see here, just type Power BI Fest 2021, happening on Saturday, November 20th. So some amazing presenters, and I believe yours truly here, Markus, will be there. Is that correct, Markus?
You will see. You will see. I didn't hear back. Yeah, I submitted. But,
I believe I saw some submissions from Markus. So be waiting out there, folks, for some another amazing presentation there. And with that, let's roll back here to transition back here to just you and I on the screen here. Markus, let me take a final look for any questions. Fernando Calero says, Duncan's con Markus.
Pardon? Again?
I think it's I'm maybe mispronouncing, but Fernando says Duncan Scone Markus.
Ah, Dankeschön. Yeah, thank you very much. That's what he's writing in German. So he knows German, or he learned German right now. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Gracias, Fernando. I assume that you speak Spanish or something.
Yeah, I believe he said, just seconds here, he said he is from, no, I do not see here. I can't recall real quick where he's from. But very good. So thank you very much, everyone attending. If you have any more questions, you have 10 seconds to enter your questions in the live chat. Otherwise, use the comment section below this presentation to let us know what is your question. Also, and let us know if you are just tuning in and you'll be watching the replay of this video. Just let us know where you are at. And also, if you have any questions, use the comment section. So now I'd like to take opportunity to thank Markus as well for making the time, being here with us, sharing knowledge here. It's really appreciated on behalf of the South Florida Power BI user group. Really appreciate that, Markus, making the time and be here with us. Do you have any final words here?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun for me, and see you soon at one of the other events upcoming soon.
Absolutely. With that, I would like to say thanks to everyone once again. Thank you, Markus. See you all soon next week if you're watching the Microsoft Data and AI South Florida. If you're also the following week, we will have a presentation on the South Florida Power BI. I'll be announcing later tonight. So stay tuned, folks. And be well. Stay safe out there. Have a great day. Goodbye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.